Hello, my name is Hans George Campbell. Today I'm out in my shop and I thought I'd show you guys how to set up the SupraDrive 500XP as a dedicated memory expansion and SCSI controller for your Amiga 500 computer. Alright, let me turn some more light on. I try to get as much light on the subject as I can. Let me pull the workbench light over a little bit, and that should be enough light. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we have to take this cover off. And I'm trying to remember how to do it. You have to be careful when you're taking this apart because these are flat-headed screws or bolts and they're painted. So you don't want to use a full-size number 2 screwdriver on that. You want to use a smaller, low-torque number 2 Phillips like this one. Okay, they actually fit the heads better. So, what I usually do is I pull this up like that. Probably can't see because it's off camera. That's okay. It'll be back under the camera soon. Okay. And you can see how that, it fits the head better of those bolts. And they are like painted. So, yeah. You want to be careful. You don't want the screwdriver to slip. Scratch that paint off. Okay. Alrighty, so there's that. In order to get this apart, I may have to take off the pass-through cover as well. It's been a while since I'm taking this apart, so bear with me. There's a lot to talk about in this video. It may seem like it's not going to be much to this video, but there is. So I recommend that you watch till the very end because I have a lot of stuff to show you and talk about in this video. So, stay till the end. Trust me, you'll be glad that you did. Okay? Stay till the end. You'll see why I'm doing this and why I recommend that you do this too. If you have one of these external hard drives and memory expansions, by Supra for your Amiga 500, you're going to see why I'm doing this, okay? So keep watching. There's a method to my madness. Okay. Alright, so we got that out of there. I think now this should come out. I'm going to put it over there. We got the LEDs right here. They're still tucked in. Okay, so okay, yeah, that's fine right there. Anyway, I just want to make sure it's underneath the camera. I'm thinking, how am I going to take this thing apart? Thinking, how am I going to take this apart? Okay. I think what I had to do before, okay. Now, with these, you may have to use a larger, your standard size Phillips screwdrivers. But, because for these bigger bolts, but I don't think so. I think it'll be fine like this. I think it'll be fine using this screwdriver. Okay. Actually, I'll do this one first. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a video. I apologize for that. But I'm in the process of redoing the studio out here so it looks better. I have a lot of great content coming up. So yeah, you're gonna like what I'm doing out here when I get it done. I think you guys really will. So just bear with me. The Hans Camel Show will become very active again real soon. Just bear with me. You'll see the method to my madness when it's all done. What I do for you guys, believe it or not. I do for you guys. Okay, we're going to put the controller and the memory expansion aside because I need to get these out of here. And I'll put these in a safe place. Yeah. I'll put these like in a little bag, and I'll mark on it SupraDrive 500XP so that I know that these go with this hard drive, And I'll put this hard drive with it too, because this is the hard drive that came out of this unit. So, yeah. I just love the way this hard drive was made. I mean, this whole unit is just very nicely made. Very nicely made. Okay, so I'm going to put this hard drive up here temporarily until I can put it away. Alright. Okay, so there's the controller. I guess I'll put it this way. And I'm going to take a quick coffee break, and I will be right back. Let me zoom in. Yeah, I'll zoom in. So you guys can see this a little bit better, okay? So I want you guys to see what I'm going to be doing here. And like I said, stay till the end. I've got a lot of stuff coming up in this video that you're going to want to hear. Okay, so please stay till the end. Alright, I'm going to take a quick coffee break, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so, alright, first I want to take these standoffs out of here. They should come out. Why aren't they coming out? They should come out. These standoffs here, unless they're glued in. Are these glued in or what? Wow, what the hell? Okay, leave them in. If they don't want to come out, that's fine. Leave them in. I don't like to force anything. But yeah, take that out of there. The ribbon cable needs to come out. Be very careful when you pull out evenly so you don't bend the pins. You don't want to bend the pins. This is the ID cable. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it out too. I'll put all of this in like a baggie. A storage baggie, and I'll label it SupraDrive 500, 500XP. Okay, well, that's good enough, Mr. Campbell. That's good enough. Okay, all right. You're probably wondering why I removed the hard drive. And there's a good reason for that. Okay, right here are the two jumpers for determining whether or not this gets its power from the Amiga 500 computer or from an external power supply that plugs into here. Okay, so in order to get power from the Amiga, you're going to have to put in these jumpers. So, yeah. Plug in those jumpers like that, and that will make it to where this gets power from the Amiga 500. Okay, for some reason not going in. Okay. Let me put my 7-part goggles on. Okay. I want to make sure I don't mess that up. Okay. There you go. So that's J5 and J6, those two jumpers right there. J5 and J6. And when the jumpers are on, that means that the SupraDrive 500XP, it gets its power from the Amiga 500. With the jumpers off, it gets its power from this external connector right here. You plug in an external power supply there. Alrighty, so we want it to have power, to get its power from the Amiga 500, and we want it just for the memory expansion and for the SCSI controller. That's what we want it for. And without the hard drive in there, this will not tax the Amiga 500's power supply. And it'll be just fine. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a moment. Okay? So now that we've got that done, I'm going to reassemble this, and I will be back after I finish doing that. Alright, got a Ziploc bag here, and I labeled it because I don't want to lose these parts, just in case I decide to put the hard drive back in there. I have all the parts to do that. Okay. Got all the parts to do it. Even put the SCSI cable in there. And this way, yeah, and then I Ziploc it, or Ziploc it like that. And I'll take these into my main computer room, where I usually have that, you know, and I'll have all the parts in the bag like that. Okay, one thing I need to talk about. Okay. When you're dealing with SCSI, you have what is called a SCSI chain. Think of it as a chain. Okay? And each end of the chain has to be terminated. Okay? So when this hard drive was installed in this unit, these termination resistors here, these resistor packs, provided the termination for the controller. So since I removed the hard drive, there's I think it's an 8-pin socket, like an IC socket that's on the board. I'm sure you saw it when I showed you the board. You have to plug in a termination resistor pack into that socket, because the controller is now it's the device on the end of the chain, so it has to be terminated. Okay? It has to be terminated. Alright, so the reason why we did this, for two reasons. It's a lot lighter like this, I can tell you that. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Anyway, it's a lot lighter like this. It doesn't take up, I mean, it's not as heavy or whatever, okay? We're going to be using the external SCSI port. That's a standard 25-pin SCSI port. that's on the back of this controller. Okay? And that allows us to use external, like SCSI towers, or SCSI cases that have either SCSI hard drives, they have either a SCSI zip drive, or a SCSI CD-ROM drive, or a burner drive, okay? And the reason why this is a much better setup is because those SCSI cases have a dedicated power supply. They also have fans that keeps the SCSI drives nice and cool, because SCSI drives, they run hot because they're very fast. They run hot. And so they really need to be fan cooled. And that's another reason why I recommend removing the hard drive from the SupraDrive 500XP, because it's not really getting proper cooling. And that will affect the life expectancy of that SCSI hard drive. Okay? So next, I'm going to show you the devices that I'm going to be hooking up to this controller here. You know, it's plugged into the Amiga 500, and I'm going to show you how to hook everything up where it works beautifully. So that's coming up next. All right. Here we have an external SCSI case with an Amiga Zip 100 drive installed. And you can use these sort of like a removable 100 megabyte hard drive. And these work really well with an Amiga 500 or a 2000 for that matter. Okay, they work really well. I've never had problems out of a zip drive like this. Okay, and a nice thing about using a setup like this is that you can load up different Kickstart ROM images, and then you can have like a separate zip disk hard drive, right, for each one of those Kickstart image files. So let's say you want to use Kickstart 1.3 for loading in your games and older software compatibility and things like that. You can have a zip disk set up with Workbench 1.3 and all of the software that runs with that particular workbench. Okay, and you just plug it into your zip drive here, and your zip drive, that disk becomes your hard drive for your Amiga 500. Or let's say you want to load up Kickstart 2.04, because you're running software that actually requires Workbench 2.04 or 2.1. You can do that because you can have a separate zip disk set up with Workbench 2.04 or 2.1 and the software that requires that Workbench. And yes, there are certain programs that require Kickstart Workbench 2.x. Okay? Or let's say you're going to load up Kickstart 3.1. Again, you can have a 100 megabyte zip disk set up as a hard drive that has Workbench 3.1 and let's say Magic Workbench set up. Okay, or you can use set up Workbench 3.9. 100 megabytes is plenty large enough for even a 3.9 Workbench and all the software that goes, that runs with that Workbench. As well as if you want to load up like one of the new Kickstarts. Like Kickstart, what is it? We're up to like 3.2.2 or whatever. And you can try out that Kickstart, and then set up a separate 100 megabyte zip disk with that Workbench, Workbench 3.2.2, to see if you like it or whatever. So it's a really good way. It makes it very versatile, to do it this way. And also by having your SCSI devices in external cases like this, it has its own dedicated hard drive, or excuse me, not hard drive, dedicated power supply. So you're not taxing the Amiga 500's power supply. Okay, because your SCSI devices, like this zip drive, it has its own dedicated power supply. And in its own case, here's your power, it's fuse protected. You can set up your SCSI ID right here, right? Now, zip drives don't really get hot, so they don't really need a fan, you know, they don't need to be fan cooled. But the next SCSI device does. Now keep in mind, you can also use actual SCSI hard drives in external cases like this. Okay, now this is a SCSI CD-ROM burner. And now SCSI CD-ROM burners, they do get hot, especially when they're burning the CDs. And in a later episode, I'm going to show you guys how to use the Make CD software to burn your own Amiga CDs. And there's a reason why you want your software on CDs. Okay? And so this, by having the SupraDrive 500XP set up as a controller and a memory expansion, it opens up your options to all these different external SCSI devices. Okay? And this SCSI device, not only does it have its own dedicated power supply, right? Also is fan cooled. It has a fan that keeps that CD burner nice and cool. And you can set, it has audio out, in case you want to actually play audio CDs, you can. This output can go into either a set of amplified speakers or into an amplifier with speakers hooked up to the amplifier. You know, you can do that too. And this, you can set your SCSI ID right here. Okay, so now when I come back from a quick break, I'm going to show you how to set up everything. So that's coming up next. All right, I'm going to show you how to hook these devices up. Just make believe that the controller here is plugged into an Amiga 500 expansion, right? Okay, and this is the back of the units. This is the SupraDrive 500XP, 25-pin external SCSI. This is the Zip 100 drive, and this is your CD burner drive. The first thing you need to do, remember, the device that's on the end of each end of the chain must be terminated. So since the CD-ROM drive is the last drive on the chain, you use a terminator like this. This is a SCSI terminator, and when that light glows green, that means that this is active termination and it is working. So the first thing we want to do is you want to plug this into the top connector of the CD-ROM drive so that this right here is now terminated. Next thing we want to do, I got all my cables in Ziploc bags to keep them, like when I have them thrown in the box, it keeps them from getting tangled up. And I recommend you guys do the same thing. You need a cable like this. This basically is what you use to hook SCSI devices up together. Okay? You want to keep it as short as possible so that, you know, to prevent data loss. Okay? And so this, and it might have been better to do this before I plugged in the terminator, but that's okay. Okay, that's plugged in. Make sure you put these locks on like that. The other end goes into here. Actually, you can go in like, actually I put it in like that. Actually, you can go like that. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. I don't think it matters. And keep in mind, you can have this like stacked on top of the CD-ROM drive too. I just have them spread out like that so I can show you what's going on. Alright, now the next thing we want to plug in, of course you have your power plugged in too. Now I usually have, okay, this is a good rule to have. When you want to set up your SCSI devices, set your hard drive IDs for 0, 1, and 2. And if you always set them up with those IDs, you know that that's a hard drive. Hard drives should have a SCSI ID of 0, 1, or 2. SCSI CD-ROM drives, right here, they should always have a SCSI ID of 3 or 4. So this one is set up for SCSI ID 3. Excuse me. Your zip drives like this, and this also includes the SideQuest drives, okay, they should always be set up with a SCSI ID of 5 or 6. And of course, the SCSI controller, which is what's inside here, is also considered a SCSI device. It should be set up with as device 7. Okay? I think the lower the number, the higher the SCSI priority. And that's the reason why you want your hard drives set for either 0, 1, or 2. Okay, because it has a much higher boot priority. Okay, so, okay, now that that's out of the way, you can basically set up the IDs any way you feel comfortable with. Okay, but just make sure that each device has its own unique SCSI ID. Now, to hook up your SCSI cases up to the controller, you're going to need to use a cable like this. It has a 25-pin SCSI connector on one end, and your standard 50 SCSI connector, 50-pin SCSI connector on the other end. Okay? So, we're going to lay that there. Now, usually, I don't recommend having it this long, but this is the cable that I have, so I think I have shorter ones. And just plug it in. And then the other end, okay, it plugs into the 25-pin connector of the SCSI controller, just like that. Make sure you screw that in so it doesn't come out there by accident, because it can damage the controller or the SCSI device that's hooked to it. So you just put that in like that, okay. If you're having problems with stability, that means that the SCSI controller has not been terminated, and you need to add that termination resistor pack. It's like it looks like I think it's looks like an 8-pin IC, but it's not an IC. It's a resistor pack that plugs into that 8-pin. I think it's an 8-pin IC socket that's toward the rear here, that's near this connector. So you'll need to terminate the controller, because this is the first. This is on one end of the SCSI chain, and the CD-ROM drive, the CD-ROM drive will be on the other end of the chain. Okay, whatever is the last drive on the chain, they have to be terminated. Now, if you want to keep them in the order of your ID number, then I would actually swap them. I'd have the CD-ROM drive first, and then this over there. But if you have the iOmega set up like a hard drive, as a removable hard drive or whatever, actually no, they're still going to be ID 5 and 6. You could set this up with ID 0, 1, or 2, because you're using it in the place of a hard drive. So you could do that too. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you how this is all set up. And in a later episode, I'm going to show you guys, okay, this CD-ROM drive that's in this case here, it is recommended by the Make CD software. And I'm going to show you guys how to use this software to burn Amiga CDs. Okay? And the reason why you want to do that is because you can have all of your picture files or all of your music files on a CD, because you're basically just reading those files. You're never really writing them. You're reading. You're reading from the CD. You're using either use CDs as data discs for music and pictures, things like that. Okay. You can also you could have CDs set up for different types of games. It's already set up for WHD load, and you can actually make you can have CDs for platform games. You can have another CD for shoot 'em ups. You get the idea. But yeah, there's so much you can do with an Amiga 500. if you have a CD burner and a zip drive like this. You have it set up just like this. Remove the hard drive out of here and use this as a memory expansion. You know, the SupraDrive 500XP. Use it as a memory expansion and a dedicated SCSI controller. And set up just like this, it'll work beautifully. And because you remove the hard drive out of this, this unit does not draw that much current from the Amiga 500's power supply. Okay? And these SCSI devices, you can even have a SCSI hard drive, external SCSI hard drive if you want. Okay? They have their own dedicated power supply, and the devices that run hot, like a hard drive or a CD-ROM drive or burner drive, they have their own dedicated fans to help keep them nice and cool. So I highly recommend that you set up a SCSI system like this with your Amiga 500 computer. And at a later time, I'm going to actually have all this set up on this table out here, and I'll have my Amiga 500 hooked up to a big 32-inch HD TV, and we're going to take a look at how all of this works, and we're going to take a look at the Make CD software. I'm going to show you guys how to burn your own Amiga CDs. Anyway, that's it. I was out here in the shop, and I was going to do this on the SupraDrive 500XP, get it set up for this. And I thought, well, why don't I just turn on the camera? I haven't done a video in a while, you know, and turn on the camera, let you guys watch what I'm doing and talk about it. You might find this useful, maybe not. But like I said, I've been doing a lot of work getting ready to redo the studio out here. In fact, let me take another quick coffee break, and I'll come back and I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing out here. So I'll be back after a quick coffee break. Okay, so that's what the SCSI zip drive and the SCSI CD-ROM drive, that's what they look like together when they're stacked. That's how I'll have them sitting next to my Amiga 500 computer. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys how to use Make CD to burn your own Amiga CDs. And that drive there, that's one of the main drives that that software actually recommends. So, yeah. Anyway, let me zoom out. It's a little messy out here. Like I said, I've been working out here. In case you've never seen my shop before, that's my main workbench right there. And there's my homemade camera boom up there. That's where I hooked the camera up. I made that out of wood, and it's counterweighted. So, you know, and there's my messy workbench, you know, with parts, capacitors. There's my hats, you know, that I wear sometimes. Got parts down there. Got all kinds of crap down here. You know, I even got a nice monitor. I showed it in one of my videos, my TI-994A video. That monitor is perfect for like a VIC-20 or like an 800XL computer right there. But what I'm planning on doing out here is I'm planning on taking all of these three industrial shelves here, and I'm going to take them over to my storage unit so I have plenty of space to store vintage computer stuff. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy like a 6 foot long, 7 feet tall, as tall as those. That's 8 foot ceiling. You see how tall those are. Well, I'm going to buy one that's just as tall, but instead of it being 3 feet long, it's going to be 6 feet long to create like a wall of vintage computers that are going to be behind my desk when I talk to you guys, okay? And that one's 18 inches deep. It's not quite deep enough to set up full of computers. So the new one that I'm buying to take that one's place is going to be 2 feet deep, and 6 inches deeper. So, and I'm going to have spacing set up between the shelves where I can have 2 complete computers set up per shelf. And it's going to look very impressive looking. And of course, one of the computers that I'm going to have set up is that Amiga 1000 with a 1080 Amiga monitor sitting on top. the keyboard in front of it. It's going to look really impressive. Next to that, I'm going to have an Amiga 2000 set up with its proper Commodore 2002 monitor sitting on top of it. Its keyboard sitting in front of the computer. That's going to look impressive. I'm going to have an Amiga 500 set up in my computer room because I'm planning on showing a lot of software this year, Amiga software videos. Of course, I'm going to have my Commodore 128D computer fully set up on one of the shelves. Okay, but first I want to do an unboxing and a showing of that computer. I'm really excited to show that. I'm going to have my Apple IIe computer set up, and I've got the matching color monitor over there. Okay, and I'm also going to have my Apple II Plus computer set up on one of the shelves. And of course, I'm going to have my favorite Macintosh of all time, the Mac SE. I'll have one of those set up, with the keyboard and everything. Okay, and yeah, of course the Commodore 64 SX, that's going to be set up with the keyboard sitting in front. It's going to be a very impressive looking display behind my desk here, so that when I talk about vintage computer stuff, you guys have something really cool to look at, instead of my ugly mug. Okay, and then I also have a desirable, like a Matchbox channel. It's called Desirable Matchbox. If you haven't visited that, you should. Let me back up a little bit so I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, those two shelves there are going to be taken, like I said, to my storage unit. They're not going to be in here. That frees up that entire wall. I have Matchbox cars temporarily up there. Okay, they're not going to stay there. I just have them up there because I'm sorting through them for the upcoming videos for Desirable Matchbox. I also have a Hot Wheels channel called Desirable Hot Wheels. And of course I have a channel called Disc-Based Games, and that's where I'm going to show a lot of my software videos. So stay tuned for all this exciting content. But what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to have a racetrack set up out here where I can do races at least once or twice every month. Matchbox racing, Hot Wheels racing, so I'll have race day out here. And yet I still have what I need for the Hans Campbell show set up, and I'll still have my workbench here with the camera boom, so I can still do those kind of videos, I've got a new multimeter. It's a Tektronix multimeter. It's like brand new condition because I needed a multimeter, and so a guy was selling this on Craigslist for only 20 bucks, and of course I snatched it right up for that price. Because I used to make those, my team made those when I worked at Tektronix in Bearden. So I know those are very good quality, they're very well made, and I was really happy to get that. Because you'll see me using that in future videos, so stay tuned for all this wonderful content. I'm also going to do a video, that's an upcoming video. I'm putting in a larger hard drive into this SupraDrive hard drive for the Amiga. And I'm changing the LEDs, putting in more modern LEDs here to make it look really nice. And I'm going to recap the power supply. I'm going to put, that's a brand new fan there I'm going to put right here. So it keeps the SCSI hard drive nice and cool. And that's a standard 25-pin SCSI connector, so I can use this if I wanted to with my Amiga 500. Oh yeah, it's an Amiga drive. It's by Supra. So I can actually plug that into the rear of that controller that I showed earlier. And I'm probably going to wind up doing that. And that has a pass-through, a 25-pin SCSI pass-through, so I can hook up the other devices up to that hard drive right there. So that'd be pretty cool, I'm thinking. But yeah, I got a lot of plans for out here. It's going to be redone. I'm going to make it look nicer. And of course, the computer room is being set up differently, so I can sit in there comfortably and show you guys software videos. And I'm also setting up. I got another room. It's painted yellow. That's going to be my Desirable Matchbox and Desirable Hot Wheels. Basically my diecast room. So when I do a lot of my introductions and stuff, I'll do in there. I'll have display cases hanging on the wall where I have a lot of my, my cars. you know, out of the package. They'll be put in display cases or whatever. Yeah, so anyway, I thought I'd show you guys what I was doing, why I haven't made a video in a while, because I've been busy working out here, making things a lot better for you guys. I think you're going to love it when I get it all finished. So just, you know, let me know what you think about the Hot Wheels thing being out here, the racetrack. Okay, let me know, you know, what you think about that. Another video I have coming up is I'm going to take the guts out of that PlayStation 2 that's standing upright. I'm going to put it in that extremely rare limited edition Japanese case. And I'm going to show you guys how to do all that. Okay. And there's stuff for DigiView. That's the correct camera for DigiView. And there's a really nice small 9-inch diagonal color monitor made in Japan. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff in those totes. I never showed you guys what's on these shelves, so I thought I would in this video. Okay, that's a very rare external Macintosh drive in the Picasso box. Okay, and I got 2 VIC-20s in original boxes. I got like 5 or 6 Commodore 64s in their original boxes. Got 1571s. I've got 1581 drives in the original boxes. I got the rare Amiga 570. A bunch of drives up there. Bunch of stuff up there. You know, so yeah. That allows me to work on smartphones. If I need to repair someone's smartphone, I use that. And there, let me back up a little bit. There is a rare Macintosh 512K computer, one of the first issue ones, in its original, very rare Picasso box. And even the keyboard and the power cord and the mouse are in their Picasso boxes inside that box. And I have the original manuals to that computer. And there too, they're the rare Picasso manuals. And that Macintosh 512K computer is like in really nice condition. Really nice condition. I do plan on showing that in a later episode. And of course, I've got over here, I've got an Atari color monitor and a monochrome monitor. I have another Atari color monitor and monochrome monitor inside the house. I have like 2 of those, 2 of each. Okay. The Cubase software for the Atari ST, I plan on showing that. The Cubase software hooked up, they have the Atari ST hooked up to a MIDI keyboard. I plan on showing what's in those totes there, like VIC-20 stuff. Data set, I got a lot of cassettes to show you guys. I got a lot of stuff to show you. More Atari ST stuff up there. Okay, there's the box to my 520. You know, so yeah, lots of stuff coming up this year. Lots of cool stuff coming up this year. And, well, for the upcoming years, for that matter. You know. Oh, yeah. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So just stay tuned, boys and ghouls. A lot of stuff coming up this year. I got, I'll be doing another Windows XP build this year, real soon. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more exciting content on the Hans Campbell Show. My name is Hans George Campbell. And until next time.